João walked through the chaotic streets of Sao Paulo, surrounded by the constant noise of traffic and the thick air that seemed to oppress his lungs. His mind couldn't tear itself away from the images of the devastated Amazon rainforest that he had left only a few days earlier. He had been working as an environmental scientist for years, but now he felt more lost than ever. Don't miss out on more inspiring stories like this one. Subscribe to the channel to receive our latest reflections. With each passing day, the Earth seemed to die a little more under the weight of human decisions. He watched people walk hastily by, their faces immersed in their devices, completely unaware of the crisis unfolding beneath their feet, as if modern life had made invisible the nature that once supported them. A message on his phone distracted him from his thoughts. It was a monk he had met on his last trip to the Amazon, a man who lived in perfect harmony with nature and who seemed to possess a wisdom outside of time. João had found peace in his words, and even now, in the midst of the chaos of the city, he felt the call of those lessons. Have you ever found inspiration in a wise person? Share in the comments who has influenced you the most. Come visit me, the message read. The peace you seek is closer than you think. João hesitated. His life was now a constant race. Projects, deadlines, pressures. But something inside him pushed him to follow that invitation. He decided to leave everything for a few days and join the monk, who lived in a small monastery on the outskirts of the city, immersed in an oasis of greenery that seemed to miraculously survive in the midst of urban sprawl. When he arrived, he was greeted by the soft sound of running water. The monastery, surrounded by tall trees and wild flowers, was a place out of time. João breathed deeply, finally feeling the air enter his lungs without heaviness. If you have ever been in a place that gave you peace, tell us about your experience. The monk appeared shortly after, with a serene smile and eyes that shone with a calm that João could never achieve, despite all his years of study and dedication to the environmental cause. It is no coincidence that you are here, said the monk, as he led him to a small garden in the shade of the trees. Your battle is great, João, but the weight you carry is not only on the shoulders of the world, it is inside you. João sat on a smooth stone and looked at the monk, waiting for him to continue. It was true. The weight he felt was not only that of the destruction of nature. It was a feeling of failure, a sense of impotence that grew day by day until he doubted the value of his own work. The forest you have seen dying, the monk continued, is only a reflection of the forest you are letting die within you. Man and nature are not separate. If the world is dying, it is because the spirit of man is disconnected from its source. The monk's words struck João like a bolt of lightning. He had always seen the environmental crisis as an external battle, to be fought with laws, protests, and technologies, but he had never thought that real change could begin with himself. But what can I do? João asked, his tone revealing his frustration. I've dedicated my life to trying to stop this destruction, and yet every day it seems to get worse. The monk watched him in silence for a moment, then calmly replied, Change does not happen by force. Look at the trees. They do not fight to grow, but they grow anyway towards the light, without haste. We, like them, must learn to grow from within without forcing the world around us. Learn to grow internally. Dedicate it to yourself, with daily meditation exercises. João listened attentively, but inside he still fought against the impulse to do, to act. His mind, accustomed to seeking solutions, continued to search for a plan, a strategy to save the planet. But the more he listened to the monk, the more he understood that the path he had always followed had only led him to an internal war. What the monk didn't know was that João carried an even greater burden. Before becoming an environmental scientist, João had been a manager at a large multinational energy company, one that contributed to the devastation of natural resources. He had left that job in disgust, feeling part of the problem, but the guilt had never left him. Every day he fought to repair the damage he knew he had helped create. You can't fight nature, the monk continued. You can only learn from it, accept its timing, accept your mistakes. Have you ever felt something similar? Leave a comment and share your own journey of inner growth. João remained silent, looking up at the sunset sky. The monk was right. His whole life had been a battle against something, against himself, against the world. But maybe the answer wasn't to fight. Maybe the answer was to listen. The days passed in the monastery, and Joao began to feel different. Every morning he woke up to the sound of nature around him, breathing an air he could not find in the city. The monk guided him through meditation and reflection exercises. Do you also want to try meditation to find your inner peace? Try meditating for just 5 minutes every day and tell us how you feel. One evening, as the sun was setting over the hills, Joao and the monk walked along a small path through the trees. The sky was tinged with orange and pink, and for the first time in years, Joao felt a deep peace within himself. He stopped and looked at the monk, searching for words to express the gratitude he felt. "You don't need to thank me," the monk said, as if he had read her thoughts. "Nature doesn't ask for thanks, only respect and care, and the same goes for us. If we learn to respect ourselves, to take care of our spirit, then the earth will also flourish again." Cultivate respect for yourself. It is the first step to bringing change to the outside world as well. But those days of peace were interrupted by a sudden piece of news. An environmental disaster was hitting one of the areas near the Amazon rainforest that Joao had studied. A vast and uncontrollable fire was devastating natural resources, driven by winds and human negligence. The forest that Joao had been desperately trying to protect was burning, and the images broadcast on the news hit him to the heart. "I have to do something," Joao said, feeling the sense of helplessness and frustration rising again. But this time the monk stopped him. "Peace does not mean inaction," he said calmly. "Act, but do not let your mind be at war. Go, but take with you the calm you have found here." Joao set out for the fire site, this time with a new awareness. He still had the desire to act, to make a difference, but he was no longer driven by anger or desperation. He led a team of volunteers to contain the fire, collaborated with the local community, and found a new purpose. Not only to stop the destruction, but to build a dialogue between man and nature, one of respect and collaboration. When he returned to the monastery, after weeks of struggle, Joao felt that something in him had changed. He was no longer the young scientist eager to save the world with quick solutions. Solutions are not always immediate, but real change starts from within. Have you found your inner balance? Share it in the comments. She had learned that saving the planet could not happen without an inner transformation. She had found her way, and she knew that true hope was not something distant, but a light that she could cultivate every day, like a tree that grows slowly but strongly towards the light. Subscribe now for more stories that inspire your personal growth and connection with nature.